Hello, viewers. Welcome to another episode of the Nana Yayabua podcast. It is with great pleasure that I have with me Amanda Coombs. There are people doing work within our communities, and with many people, we don't see the work they do, but our youth, it reflects in our youth. For a person to be passionate and do what they do, it means a lot. So it is my honor to have you, Amanda, on my podcast. Let me just give, listeners and viewers a little bit about you. Amanda Coombs is the founder of Back to Basics Youth Support and organization. It is an organization committed to providing comprehensive support for Black and racialized youth with a focus on academic pursuits, mental health, and employment. The organization extends its compassionate reach to those who have left school early and individuals involved in the justice system. So, Amanda, you're a product of York University
Yes.
and you're doing your master's in clinical counseling. Oh my
Yes.
goodness.
Yes.
And you've impacted over 1,000 youth and adults by certifying them as mental health first aid responders. I
Correct.
actually did mine maybe last year.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
great.
I did
Yeah.
mine last year.
Yeah.
Amanda, thank you so much for doing the work you do. Welcome to the Nana Yayabua podcast.
Thanks. Such a pleasure being here. Thank you for giving me this platform to share about Back to Basics Youth Support Services.
Yes. So let's dive into, your mission. Let's dive into your mission. I want you to take us to the very beginning. What motivated you or inspired you to start Back to Basics and the
Oh,
name Back to Basics?
yes. So from the very beginning, I think it would start with my adolescent years.
Mm-hmm.
From a very early age, due to challenges at home, I had to move out on my own at 16 years old. And being on your own at 16, dropped out of school, trying to navigate all the complexities of our system, like how do I get back into school, how do I find a job,
Mm-hmm.
um, how do I find a place to stay, how do I get access to housing, how do I rebuild my relationship with my mother, with my family. It was very, very difficult for me, and I had many other friends who were in similar situations. And it was very difficult. This was around 2013, when I was like trying to get my life back on track and stuff. And it was so difficult to find mentors or to find culturally sensitive resources that could help me to navigate this complex system and to help me to overcome some of the challenges that I was experiencing. So I thought, why not start an organization that would help youth that are in similar situations as I was when I was a teenager,
Mm-hmm.
to get connected to the supports that they need so that they can experience a great quality of life. And it was actually a pastor by the name of Larry Smith that I was introduced to that turned out to be such an amazing mentor for me. And he believed in me and he saw like gifts and skills that I didn't even see in myself. And
Mm-hmm.
that was the catalyst to really get back to basics started and to start volunteering in the community. He gave me an opportunity to run a soup kitchen. He asked me to write a couple stuff for the church. And he's like, you have really great writing skills. And I was like, I do. And he was like, yes. And he's like, why don't you try grant writing? And I was actually really good at grant writing after taking a couple classes. So I would say like having Pastor Larry Smith as a mentor really, really helped me to get those foundational skills, which have helped me to excel today. And really, I was starting from back to basics, much like many of the youth that I support and many of my friends who are in that situation. So, yeah, that's how it started. It started from my own personal struggles
Mm-hmm.
and the victory and being able to triumph through those things and being connected to the right people.
So, you've mentioned back to, basics, Pastor Larry being your mentor with
Mhm.
that. So let's get to your youth program, the youth reset program.
Mhm.
I heard it's like reset. All right. That
Yes.
is a powerful name. So let's
Yeah.
get to that. Can you kind of walk us through what it is about?
Yeah. So our Youth Reset program focuses primarily on youth who are involved in the justice system, and
Mm,
it's led by our youth justice worker, Shane. And what we do is we help youth who are out of school. Maybe they made some poor choices, while they were teenagers or earlier on in their life. And as a result, they can't get connected to work. They're having difficulty getting back into school. And what we do is help them to be able to apply for pardons so that they can find job. We teach them entrepreneurial skills so that they can start their own business. We follow them to court so that they have somebody to advocate for them. We help
mm,
get them connected to lawyers who are that truly have their best interest at heart, right? And help the families as well with this entire process, which can be difficult, helping them with transportation, to be there to support their youth when they have bail or if they have court cases, and advocating for our youth and letting them know that you're not a product of your mistakes. Even, if you found yourself involved in the justice system, if you had charges, that you have the ability to change your life and the outcome, right? By making positive choices. And we provide them with the skills to do that, whether it's forklift training, mental health training, CPR, first aid,
mm.
food handlers training, and just providing them with a positive environment where they can flourish and grow.
Excellent, beautiful. That is wonderful. So, where is your organization located? Where are these services given?
So when we first launched in 2013, we were primarily working out of the Jane and Finch community, and we were offering solely just rehabilitation services and entrepreneurship programs to youth who are housed at Beaver Creek Institution. And we realized that there was a need outside of the prison system in the community. And we started to offer wraparound services there in the Jane and Finch community. But in 2024, we were blessed with an opportunity to open up a second location in
Mm,
Scarborough. And
okay.
that location has just been thriving since we've opened our doors. And that's thanks to the partnership of Frontlines,
Mm.
and we received a $1 million grant to be used over 5 years, which,
Oh,
yeah, this program continues to grow every single day. And yeah, it was really needed
yeah.
in the Dorset Park community in Scarborough. And we saw this because within the first month of opening, we registered over 100 youth in the Scarborough Dorset Park community, which speaks volumes.
It does speaks volumes, which brings me back to, you know, us looking at some of the root causes that causes these challenges that we need to go back to basics or reset. In your
Mhm.
experience, what are some of these challenges?
There are so many. Poverty is the number one reason, I believe, for a lot of the challenges that Black youth experience who reside in the marginalized community. We see many challenges when it comes to systemic racism,
Mm,
when it comes to employment disadvantages. For instance, many youth experience postal code discrimination. They don't get the jobs because of their names, right? We also see a lot of youth that experience racial profiling. That impacts their self esteem, it impacts their mental health, and just the inequalities when it comes to financial resources, when it comes to employment and academic resources in these communities. You can see the significant um, difference when it comes to communities that are more affluent with communities that are from a lower social economic status, and it's night and day, right? We look at some of the schools in our Jane and Finch and Scarborough communities that are overcrowded. poor lighting in the classrooms, high turnover rate when it comes to teachers and principals, very hard for our youth to build rapport and connection with, the staff at the school, and very little representation of staff that look like them, right, in their schools, people that can identify with their lived experiences. And then when it comes to healthcare, many of our youth, they have challenges trusting their doctors. And we know that this is legacies of slavery, right, that have been passed down through generations. They also are combating intergenerational trauma. And we see this in our healthcare system every day. So, for instance, I'm going to give you a prime example. One of our youth from our Jane and Fish location was attacked by a dog, and he was severely bitten on his head, on his feet. And he sat in a waiting room for over 6 hours with his mother and was just given bandages to keep put in on top of the wound before he was actually seen by a doctor and was able to get stitched up. Right. And these are some of the gaps that we're trying to fill at Back to Basics by ensuring that we are connecting our youth to doctors that identify as Black or as racialized, that we're ensuring that the therapy and the mental health supports they get are being provided by Black organizations, Black therapists that can actually identify with a lot of the lived experiences of our youth. And they're rooted in Afrocentric practices, right? One of the things that we believe in at Back to Basics is the decolonization of therapy and of mental health, right? And that's something that we put at our forefront every day, and ensuring that regardless of the system that sometimes is set to be a disadvantage to our Black youth, that we give them the tools and the resources that they need so that they can overcome those challenges and realize just because of the color of their skin, it doesn't mean that they have to put themselves in a box, but they can apply for any career. And one of the things that we do is ensure that the careers and the workshops that we have held at our location for our youth really focus on careers where Black people are underrepresented. So let them know,
Mm,
you can be the next Black surgeon, you can be the next judge, you can be the next chief physician. I always inspire my youth and encourage them to pursue careers in positions where they have the ability to influence the next generation,
generation.
go into political careers, and make a difference for your brothers, your sisters, your friends, and the next youth that are coming up.
It, you know what? I remember interviewing one of the leaders. This person is based in the U.S., and he said that if they do not make a way for they do not give you a space at the table, bring your own chair.
Exactly.
Bring your own chair to the table and sit at the
Exactly.
table. If not, you can make your own table.
Amen.
So I do believe there are various ways we can, skin a cat or make things happen one way or the other. Things need to happen.
Absolutely.
Um, let's talk about your first responder mental health training
Hmm.
because I used to work in the Jane and Finch area long time ago at
Okay.
Finch Hospital.
Oh, okay. That's a
Yeah,
long time ago.
that's
Yes.
a long time ago. And yes,
Yeah.
moved to the Wilson site before I eventually said bye bye
Yes.
to that spot. I would want us to have a conversation about this first responder mental health training. I've had my share of caring for persons that look like me and let's say black and racially marginalized people. And
Hmm.
trust me, I have fun with what I do. And
Hmm.
some of the presentations, forefront presentations, needs a breakthrough to get to the people that have built high walls there. But I'll let you go ahead because I have so many interesting stories when it gets to,
Yeah.
mental health issues with our people. Yeah.
Yeah. So in 2017, I was approached by a community development officer by the name of Rosemary Bell, another incredible mentor that just opened up so many pathways for me when it comes to a lot of the initiatives that I've been able to launch over the years. And she came to me and she said, "Hey, Amanda, since you have your degree in psychology, we are looking for somebody to provide mental health training for the Jane and Finch community. Would you be interested?" And I was like, "Yes, of course, I would be interested." So I went and I did the course with the Mental Health Commission of Canada to become a
Mm-hmm.
facilitator. And
Mm-hmm.
once I graduated from that program, yeah, the rest was history.
Okay.
I was providing workshops to various organizations, hundreds of Toronto community housing residents, youth within the community. Regent Park, Lawrence Heights, Jane and Finch
Mm-hmm.
are the primary communities, Scarborough, that I provided mental health first aid training to. And it's just been a real blessing, not just for myself, but for the participants. They get to learn how to support individuals that are experiencing a mental health crisis, or maybe just been recently diagnosed with a mental health
Mm-hmm.
disorder, and how to recognize those signs and symptoms, but to provide support in a very non-judgmental manner, which is so
Mm-hmm.
important. And in that course, we cover mood-related disorders, substance
Mm-hmm.
use disorders, anxiety and trauma-related disorders. We talk about eating disorders as well, and self-harm, as well as psychotic disorders. So just really, and suicide. So
Mm-hmm.
just really a lot of different mental health, common mental health concerns, and ways that they can, help people that are experiencing or living with those mental health problems. And um, yeah, like I think the most important part for me is when I have a participant come back and they're like, I was on the train and I noticed an individual that was experiencing auditory hallucinations, and he was a youth, he was feeling very afraid, but with the training, I was able to sit down and have a
Mm-hmm.
confident conversation with them and call
Mm-hmm.
211 and get them support. Or
Mm-hmm.
a youth that tells me that one of their classmates was being bullied, and they were
Mm-hmm.
able to connect them with some resources and
Mm-hmm.
provide that conversation. So those stories make it completely worth it. And it's an asset for their resume as well. So being able to be employed because they have this certification
This
on their resume.
and the
Yeah.
skills to boot. Yes, that
Yes.
is excellent. So you're doing amazing. I knew you were doing things, but having this conversation with you is really enlightening. And I do
Thank
hope
you.
that, listeners around here in Canada or wherever that you are will take some lessons from this and inspire you if you are to go into youth activism, outreach, etc. Because this journey begins with your personal story.
It does.
What you needed that wasn't there, you are offering solutions for the youth who also need this, and many of the youth need that. Now, before I get to my next question, let's get back to you. You did
Hmm.
mention that you dropped out of school 16, you moved out of home, and then you
Hmm.
needed to figure yourself to go to school. Now,
Hmm.
you did your first degree in psychology. Between that break, how did you get to university? Because that is where the most challenge is.
Yeah, it was very difficult. I mean, when I returned to school, I had a very young child, and I was lucky I was able to get into Emory Adult Day School, and they had a
Mm-hmm.
daycare in the school. So I was able
Yes.
to do my classes and check on my son between my breaks. There was a program that was being offered, a transitional program to York University for single mothers, and it was in women's studies, and you had to get a certain mark in order, I believe it was like an A minus, in order to be able to go through that bridging program.
Mm-hmm.
And when completed that bridging program, I was able to start at York University in women's studies. And although I was really passionate about women's studies and I really enjoyed, the lessons and the teaching of my professors, my mind really was propelling me to just go towards psychology. It's always been a passion of mine, just wondering, like, what's behind the reason why people do the things that they
they
do,
do.
or
Yes.
what causes some of the mental health disorders that our youth experience. And for myself, being diagnosed with general anxiety disorder my first year of university also made it extremely difficult. And I think it was because of the transition of being out of school so long, and
Me
then
too.
being in a lecture hall with students who are a lot much younger. They don't have kids. They're going out after to hang out and to go to the bar on campus, and I'm like, I have to go home. I have my son, you know. So I think that also stemmed a lot of the anxiety that I was experiencing. But yeah, it was quite a journey, and I think it took me about 5.5 years to finally complete my degree at York University, but I
And
got it
that's,
done.
you got it done. And that
I
is
got it done.
absolutely beautiful. That's the
Yeah.
difference between mature students with responsibilities versus, right out of high school into. And I'll tell you this. I did transitional year program myself at University of Toronto. But
Okay.
the difference was that I didn't have children, but I was there with women who had children, 4, 5 children,
Mm-hmm.
coming into this program as a beginning. And
Mm-hmm.
as I'm listening to you, you had a young child. There was just a
Mm-hmm.
phone call. My friend was maybe 20 with also a young child also starting. Right now, she's an executive director of a
Oh
program.
God. Yeah.
Yes. So that's why I'm smiling in the sense
Yeah.
that your experiences have given you a true understanding of the human challenges around our people. And if you are able to make it out, which means that you are creating the steps for other people to follow. Thank you very much.
Mhm.
Thank you. That is wonderful.
Yeah.
So, what are some of the challenges Back to Basics have faced from funding to engagement? I know you guys just you got $1 million funding to
Yeah.
proceed, so which is hallelujah, amen.
Yes.
But
Yes.
before then, what are some of the challenges faced?
So a lot of the challenges I would say when I first started was trying to find somebody that was in the nonprofit world that could mentor me. I reached out to a couple organizations and they would just tell me they didn't have the time, or, their schedule was so busy. And it was very disheartening, but I never gave up. I continued to pray until I got connected to people that were able to put me into the right direction or point me in the right direction. But I would say a lot of the challenges we had was like securing funding.
Mm-hmm.
It's not very easy. You'll find often that funders usually continue to give money to people that they've already funded
Mm-hmm.
in the past. And then
Familiarity.
it's a very small window for especially small grassroots organizations like myself to tap into that same funding. Um, when we first started getting like financial statements in order, getting registered as a nonprofit,
Mm-hmm.
those are some of the challenges that we currently faced. No, that we faced back
We
then.
faced. Okay.
Yeah. Right now, I would say some of the challenges for our Jane and Finch location is space. We are so grateful that we've been able to work out of the York University TD Community Engagement Center,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a central location. It's located in the York Gate Mall.
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
yes.
Oh, so that's you there.
Yes. And it's accessible for so many of the youth that live in the community. It's within walking distance, but we are outgrowing that space and we need our own space. And you've lived in the Jane and Finch, or you've worked in the Jane and Finch community. So,
Mm-hmm.
there's not a lot of available space, for a lot of organizations. So that's something that I'm still working and
Mm-hmm.
trying to figure out, and getting our charity status. So that's something that we're also working on right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
is wonderful. I didn't realize it was you in that space, but I know the space you're talking about.
yes,
Guys, you've tuned into the Nana Yayabua podcast, and I am speaking with Amanda Coombs, the founder of Back to Basics. It's a youth program that assists youth in assists marginalized youth in navigating the systems. So let's um let's look at your vision and your legacy. What you when you think about the youth you serve, what are your hopes and expectations for them, both as individuals and as a community?
So my hope for all of the youth that I
Mm-hmm.
serve, because I see myself in so much of them when I was that age. So my
Mm-hmm.
hope is that will really apply the skills and everything that they've been able to receive at Back to Basics,
Mm-hmm.
and just use it to propel themselves to just pursue whatever it is that they need to achieve, to just be great and just to have a wonderful quality of life. I want to see, like, our youth, as I mentioned, like, just in influential careers, making changes in their community, breaking um,
Mm-hmm.
intergenerational trauma in their families, and just setting new pathways for themselves, right? So that, their children probably don't have to experience some of the hardships that they faced. But really just understanding that, they can achieve anything that they put their mind to. And sometimes it might take them a little bit longer,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not about, how long the journey is. It's about, what you accomplish throughout that journey and the things
Mm-hmm.
that you learn while you're trying to achieve those goals and complete all of those tasks. So that's what I really want for my youth individually. I want to see them just graduate and become better humans, better individuals, and just to be able to overcome a lot of the challenges that they came into our center with. And
Mm-hmm.
just to see the community on a whole be able to work more closely together,
Mm-hmm.
more partnerships, less division, between, like, a lot of organizations,
Mm-hmm.
community members, less conflict in community. And I want to see, like, more Black led organizations, especially within low income communities. I want to see more Black and racialized doctors,
Mm-hmm.
teachers. That's what I would like for the community, just to see us overcome a lot of the systemic racism, barriers,
Mm-hmm.
glass ceilings, all of these things that have kind of just been barriers for centuries that have, stopped many of us from, like, just climbing up that ladder. And that's one of the reasons also why I've ran for my community twice, just to, be able to make those changes on a larger scale.
That is wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Whew. Amanda, where do you see Back to Basics in the next 5 to 10 years? Are there any upcoming? You did mention some, expansions coming up,
Yeah,
possibly being
possibly.
having outgrown your Gates Mall.
Yes. It's hard when you have 15 to 20 youth and they're rambunctious and they just want to, like, run around, and can't do that in the mall. So we need, like, a bigger space where they can be
Space
able
for
to
that. Yes,
do everything
yes,
they need to
yes,
do. Yeah.
yes, yes. So, what other new initiatives are we to look out or watch out for?
So we have a large clientele in Rexdale.
Mm,
And we've been exploring opportunities and pathways that would allow us to open up another location in the Rexdale community. We
mm-hmm,
do provide support to a lot of families in, like, the Kipling
mm-hmm.
area, the Martin Grove area, and the Islington area, but they don't get to benefit from the direct programming that we offer, just because of transportation and
Mm-hmm.
the commute. It's a barrier for a lot of the youth there. But, like, when we can help out with, like, gift cards or grocery cards or backpacks for back to school, or registering youth in that community for mentoring or access to some of our trips that we go to every year, they're able to be part of that. But having a location in the Rexdale Etobicoke community,
Mm-hmm.
that would be beneficial. So that's something that we're actively working on.
Great. You mentioned trips, and it's like you came from a trip with the youth to Detroit. Now,
Yes.
let's talk about that. I'm interested in that.
Yeah.
The
So,
Mhm.
yeah, on Saturday, we went to Detroit. We left at 5 a.m. in the morning and we returned around, let's say, like 1 a.m. And still recovering. I'm still tired from that because I had to go right into some other work related stuff on Sunday. So I haven't really recuperated as yet. But
Yes.
it's a trip that we do every year to Detroit. And we bring them to the Charles H. Wright Black History Museum where they get to learn
Mhm.
about their roots. They get to learn about slavery, some of the impacts that it still has on the Black community today, individually and collectively.
Mhm.
And it's very impactful, right? And it really just opens up their minds to some of the challenges that they still experience and how, that's rooted into a lot of the um, historical trauma and stuff that
Mhm.
Black people have gone through, right? Due to
Mhm.
like the transatlantic slave system and so many other experiences of Black people. Once we leave the museum, we also take them to other historical sites in Detroit and they get to eat and then they do some shopping, which is like one of their favorite parts of the trip. And then we return back to Toronto. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, in the beginning, what spurred this that I should add this to the program?
So we get a certain amount of funding for cultural experiences or cultural
Mhm.
activities for our Black youth. And I decided that I wanted to do something outside of the city. Many of our youth from the Jane and Finch and Scarborough community, they don't really have the opportunity to leave outside of
Mhm.
their neighborhoods or outside of Toronto. And that's something that they express to us all the time like, Miss, can we go camping? Miss, can we go to Niagara Falls? Miss, can you take us to the States? So I was like, okay, well, there are some historical sites that are culturally appropriate that would, fall into our funding guidelines that the youth can benefit from, and it gives them the experience to, see what the world is like outside of Toronto, outside of Jane and Finch, outside of Scarborough. So whenever we have the opportunity to just be able to take them on these excursions, we do it. Like in August, they're going away for a week camping, and that's also outside of the city.
That
Yeah.
is beautiful, Amanda. You're doing some
Yeah.
great stuff. You're doing some great stuff. So, for anyone listening to this conversation, if they want to support, get involved, or even replicate your model in other cities, what advice would you give them?
So interesting that you say that because while I was on the bus to Detroit, there was a mother that ended up coming with one of her youth, and
Hmm.
she was telling me how passionate she is about helping youth, especially that have justice involvement system, because her son almost got into some problems, and she was able to help his friend who was going down a very bad path to
Hmm.
get him back on the right path. And I was telling her, let's set up a meeting. Let's sit down. Let me help you get this started. I will show you the steps that I took in order to get back to basics where it is
Hmm.
today, and
Hmm.
I will support you every step of the way. So I would
Hmm.
say if you are looking to start your own nonprofit, and if there's a vision that you have, or just something that you're very passionate about, and I believe that makes the difference, right? When you have that lived experience, it's something that's close to your heart. It's
Yeah.
not just a job for you, it's your lifestyle. You really
Hmm.
pour your heart into what you do. It's not about a paycheck, right?
Hmm.
And in the nonprofit sector, we work a lot of hours that we don't get paid for. We work weekends. A lot of the work we do is primarily on a volunteer basis, you know so I would say reach out, send an email my way, and I can definitely connect with you and help you to start, your own business, or point you in the right direction to get that started. Um, yeah, and if you'd like to volunteer, we're always accepting volunteers.
Hmm.
You can send us an email as well, or you can give us a call. And yeah, we're also looking for a part-time youth outreach worker right now as well. So if you're interested in joining a phenomenal organization and a wonderful team, you can send your email to info@backtobasics.com, or you can give us a call at 437-254-8817, or DM us or contact us to one of our social media handles.
Excellent, excellent. Earlier on, you did talk about mentorship for yourself in,
Mhm.
navigating life and also this organization. So, do you coordinate mentorship for these youth?
We
And
do.
what is the process like?
We do. So we're always looking for mentors to come on board that can sit down and provide that support to our youth, depending on what it is that they're going through personally, individually, what they're experiencing. And that's something we take into consideration even during our hiring process. So we have like our youth outreach worker who is just amazing. His name is Tristan. And he can identify with a lot of the experiences of the youth. He's a great mentor for a lot of the young men in our group. They call him Uncle. They don't. He is Uncle Tristan. So that just shows you the rapport and how comfortable the youth feel with
Yes.
him. And they feel comfortable sitting down and talking to him about their family problems, if they had an argument with their dad or their mom, or their parents are going through a divorce, and he'll put in that time to really sit down and listen. Our youth justice worker Shane, he was involved in the justice system as a teenager, and he's now graduated from Seneca College, and he came as a placement student, but because of his passion and the connection he had with the youth, and
Mm-hmm.
letting them know that even if they have been involved in the justice system, they can overcome their challenges like he did and
Mm-hmm.
turn their life completely around and end up graduating with a degree in social work or whatever it is that they want to do. I was like, would you love to join us as a staff? Like, would you love to come on full time? We would love to have you. So I think in all of our one of the things with all of our mentors, our volunteers, our staff, is ensuring that in one way or another that they're able to connect with our youth on a personal level,
Mm-hmm.
and the youth can have that trust and that rapport with them and just feel comfortable coming to them and saying, listen, I really had a hard time at home today, and I just need someone to talk to. And they don't rush. They'll sit back for an extra hour. They'll spend that time. Their heart is really in it. So, yeah, if you're a mentor, if you're interested in being a mentor and you're passionate about, guiding youth, providing that support to them, we're always looking for new faces and people who are really passionate about empowering the next generation.
That is wonderful. Indeed, we
Yeah.
say it takes a village, and this village is working. This
Yes.
village is working, and thanks to Amanda, it is.
Mhm.
Amanda, thank you for your honesty, your heart, and your unshakable commitment to our youth.
Thank
You
you.
know what? Your work is so healing, and it's like it's restoring and purposeful and all the great stuff that one can think about. And talking about community, compassion, and connection. It's incredible. Thank you for everything you do. And if
Thank
there's
you.
anything that we, as well, the listeners and the interviewers and myself, if I can do to support your work, I would also love to be part of your story or
Thank
stories
you.
that will
Thank
be
you.
told in the future.
Thank you.
So, to our listeners, if this conversation moved you, please share in this episode and follow Back to Basics and support Amanda's mission to transform and to bring in positivity into the world, and also make every part of the black and youth positively involved in our community. They are our future. There is no way about that. We need to help them become full functioning citizens. Any last words, Amanda?
To the youth that are listening, or to the adults who feel like, maybe they've missed their opportunity at starting their business, or they've gone through a lot of stuff that they feel might discredit them, just to be able to be where they want to be in life. I would like to say that nothing that you've ever gone through will be wasted. And all of those broken pieces that you think are maybe a disability or a dysfunction or something that can't be used towards anything good, I like to say that God will take all those broken pieces and put them back together again and use it for his glory. So just remember to always believe in yourself, and the things that were meant to harm you or to work against you will be something that helps to change someone else's life or help you to propel your career.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Every day we learn something new. Thank you, Amanda.
Thank you.